This is 5 on your side at 6. Focused on you.
Bullets has no name. Bullets have no face and no shame.
Tonight, St. Louis County Police are looking for the people involved in a rolling shootout that hurt an innocent little girl who was inside of her home. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ann Allred.
And I'm Mike Bush. This happened late last night in St. Louis County near Patterson Road. 5 on your side's Travis Cummings joins us live from County Police Headquarters in Clayton. And Travis, how's the little girl doing?
Mike, and good evening to you. That little girl is doing okay. She has a cast on. She's been resting and really recovering from an injury to her arm. Now, her mother says she really hasn't spoke much since that shooting last night. Her mom is calling for this senseless violence and disregard for life to come to an end.
It's no words to describe getting a phone call and hearing that your child was asleep. Asleep.
It's a pain no parent should ever have to bear.
Waking up out the sleep, blood. It was a massacre in her room.
Adelina Gines was at work when bullets came flying through her home on Weehop Road and hit her 9-year-old daughter's room. They shattered her window and blinds.
And you can't even explain why.
A little before 11 Wednesday night, Gines' Ring camera spotted 3 cars passing by, headed to Patterson Road. You can hear the noise from the multiple shots fired her family's way.
They need more mediation. They need more guidance, because I guarantee you they were young.
Gines has lived in her home in St. Louis County since 2011. She moved away from the city for peace.
A neighborhood that was once safe is no longer that safe haven anymore at all.
This mother says preventing crime starts with supporting your neighbors.
Even as parents, we don't reach out to each other. You know, back then, everybody in the neighborhood had each other number. They had cookouts. Sometimes we need to get back to the basics.
Her daughter's life was spared. Now she's hoping to spark change.
I don't have nobody I can be mad at. I'm not even mad at God. I just hope this be a lesson.
St. Louis County Police have not yet released a description of the vehicles involved in this incident or anything on the suspects. If you happen to see anything, you can report it to Crime Stoppers. That number is 866-371-TIPS. We're live in Clayton tonight. Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Right now, St. Louis police are searching for 2 teens who carjacked a man at a gas station. It happened around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon at a BP on South Grand. The victim told police he was filling up his tank when 2 teens approached him with a gun. They demanded his keys, then took off in his SUV. Police later found the SUV abandoned nearby. St. Louis County law enforcement leaders say they have an answer to slow the spike in juvenile crime. A local police chief tells our Ryan Henson it's a collaborative effort between law enforcement and the courts that they believe will help keep the community safe.
Juveniles are committing life-threatening crimes daily in the St. Louis area. On Wednesday, police say 2 16-year-olds in a stolen Kia led police on a chase from O'Fallon, Missouri to St. Louis County, crashing at I-270 in Big Bend. Last month, a 13-year-old was caught on camera carjacking a pastor at gunpoint outside of a church in St. Louis. These are just 2 of the many crimes angering police and people across the region.
Our officers, victims, everybody gets a little frustrated when, you have crime after crime and, we're presenting cases, and if nothing is done with those cases, of course, you feel like you're just spinning your wheels.
Ladue Police Chief Ken Andreski moonlights as the chair of the St. Louis Area Police Chiefs Association, SLAPCA. In a collaborative effort with St. Louis County Family Court, law enforcement leaders have come up with a solution to detain juvenile offenders longer, especially ones connected to vehicle crimes.
Instead of having kind of a catch and release or, release the parents in a short amount of time, they're going to start holding those juveniles and putting them in front of judges.
Juvenile crimes receive a score. The higher the score, the more severe the punishment. Now the court can override points and hold juveniles based on a juvenile officer's discretion, according to a family court spokesperson.
They're overriding some of the point systems when there's stolen cars involved, when there's tampering charges involved, and especially when there's guns or anything like that involved.
In the meantime, the chief says your safety starts with you. Be vigilant of your surroundings. Make sure valuables aren't left in vehicles. Ryan Henson, 5 on your side.
St. Louis County Police arrested 60 juveniles last year connected to vehicle crime specifically. 18 more arrests than in 2021. A spokesperson says they have units specifically trying to catch juveniles and adults committing these crimes.
Just 2 days after a St. Louis judge vacated his conviction, Lamar Johnson is sitting down to talk about his nearly 30-year fight to prove his innocence. Johnson was convicted of killing Marcus Boyd in 1995 when he was only 20 years old. He has maintained his innocence for decades. He'd exhausted every legal opportunity to prove it until a law was passed allowing the circuit attorney to file a motion for a new hearing.
Do you feel like you were robbed of some of the most important years of your life?
Oh, absolutely. Presence matters more than presence. And so I think that families would rather that person be a part of their life, especially my daughters.
5 on your side's Laura Barczewski will share his story tonight at 10 o'clock, and we'll have the entire one-on-one interview online at KSDK.com.
One day after delivering his State of the State address, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker brought his budget plans to the Metro East.
Pritzker plans to expand access to early childhood education in every family in Illinois. But that and the rest of his budget comes with a big price tag. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, pressed the governor about his priorities. Mark.
Governor Pritzker wants Illinois to spend a record $49.6 billion this next year, and that's up nearly $3 billion over last year. He's selling the upside and the return on investment the state could one day see from funding popular programs like early childhood education. But every budget proposal includes a mix of priorities, and of course many families are still feeling that sting of inflation right now. If you were watching 5 on your side at 5, you heard us ask Governor Pritzker if we've got an extra $3 billion to spend, does that mean we can also afford to cut taxes? He pointed back to those temporary tax cuts he promoted during the campaign season, so we followed up with this question. You campaigned on freezing gas tax hikes, cutting grocery taxes. Those are expired.
Yes.
If those tax cuts are good enough to campaign on, why aren't they good enough to be in your budget?
Oh, believe me, I want to make any tax cuts that we could propose permanent. Let's start with that. I would like to lower everybody's taxes. That's number one. I'd love to do that.
But he didn't. Not in this budget, not yet. Pritzker argues that higher education funding from the state means your local school board can eventually lower your property tax rates if they decide to. But for now, the budget sits in the hands of the House and Senate. They'll kick it around and carve it up for 4 more months before we see what's in that final version and if it includes any of those tax cuts many of them campaigned on.
Mark, thanks. Tonight, the city of St. Charles has now closed all but one of its drinking water wells. And now the EPA is telling Ameren it needs to do more to clean up and more investigating. It comes a week after the EPA revealed an Ameren substation was the source of contamination first detected back in October. Ameren already submitted work plans for cleanup at the city's Elm Point well field. Ameren, Missouri says it is committed to the safety of St. Charles residents and that it believes the EPA has not asked for or suggested that the city close any wells. The city is looking into additional treatment options, something the mayor says is becoming more expensive and less sustainable.
We're down to about 1.5 million gallons a day when our capacity needs to be 6 million or more. So we're buying even more from the city of St. Louis.
The EPA will hold a public comment meeting next Thursday to share its results. That'll be at 6 p.m. at the St. Charles Borromeo Parish.